Okay, let's record. Pin myself. Okay, so welcome to week 5, section 2. And before we start, those of you who have already joined the Google Classroom, is there anybody who joined without G Suite? Is there anybody here who joined the Google Classroom without G Suite? G Suite ছাড়া কেউ join করেছে?
I'm করেছি স্যার।
Who are you?
শাহরিয়ার হোসেন।
Shahid Hussain.
স্যার।
How did you do it? Some people have been complaining. আচ্ছা ওই শাহিদ হোসেন কথা বলো। শাহিদ হোসেন, how did you do it?
স্যার আমি স্যার পার্সোনাল জিমেল দিয়ে চেষ্টা করতেছিলাম বাট হচ্ছে না স্যার।
ও হচ্ছে না, আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে। Is there anybody who entered the Google Classroom not using G Suite?
Sir, I used my own ID, the one that you used, the Gmail ID.
And did it work?
Yes, sir. I have already enrolled in the classroom.
Oh, lovely. How did you do it?
Sir, I just had to click on the link. I was logged into my Gmail account and I clicked on the link and I was automatically enrolled.
Okay, lovely.
I didn't even have to use the class code. The class code was disabled. The class code that you had shared, it was disabled. I didn't have to use it.
You could do it without the class code, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, lovely. So those of you who have haven't joined the Google Classroom, you can use the G Suite or you can use your personal Gmail account. That's what I know as well. But anyhow, let's start. Wait, where's the file that we want?
So, sir, we have to join with the G Suite account. I mean, you are not going to accept the, before my personal, that Gmail account that you did.
No, we have to use the Google, like the BRAQ account in order to enroll.
You
Okay,
can
I
also
Okay, I mean,
you
sir,
can also copy the class code and enter. You will be joined.
yes, I know, but I mean, sir, are you going to accept the personal account that we had? I mean, you used to send the link.
No problem.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, let's start. Where are we? Aha. Okay, can you see the slide?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Sir,
Yes.
unfortunately, didn't got the didn't get the slide here in chat box. I don't know what happened. in
Okay,
my phone.
we'll solve your problem. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So this week we'll do basically one concept, which is elasticity of demand. Okay, and then we'll also look at the 3 alternative systems that we discussed last week as queuing, rationing, and couponing. So what happens is, let me just tell you a little story. Elasticity, if you're if you're not from science, if we take a piece of our hair, it's possible to pull it and not tear it, right? Isn't it possible? If we take a piece of our hair and just pull it, is it possible to pull it like an elastic band?
No, sir.
It's not.
Yes, sir.
It is possible up to a certain extent. If you pull it too much, it'll tear. That's a different thing. But the elasticity means how much something can respond. Now, if you take an iron rod and you start pulling it like this, as if it was your hair, you could not pull it at all. That means the iron rod is not going to respond at all to any kind of external pulling. But a hair will respond to a pulling to a certain extent.
Yes, sir.
So elasticity is just nothing but how does demand respond to something. So we know from a demand function that quantity demanded of X is a function of what? Initially it's price. Then we said that it was the price of a related good. How did we define the related good? It was substitute or complement. Then we said that the demand for a commodity is also it also depends on change in income. So when the price changes, we know according to the law of demand that the demand will fall. But different goods respond differently to price changes. For example, if we look at medicine, If the price of medicine tomorrow increases by 5%, will people reduce their consumption for the medicine?
No, sir.
So in cases of medicine, in general, the demand for medicine is has nothing to do with its price. It is a function of some external matter, some external variable that influences the demand for medicine. Similarly, if we took look at the demand for, say, designer clothes, if the price falls by, say, 5%, okay, people will just jump, and what they will do, they will just go and start buying more. So, but if if I know that people's demand responds to a price decrease more than a price increase, what information does that give to me? For commodities whose demand responds to the price change, if I reduce the price, my revenue will increase. Does that make sense? If a commodity's demand responds to the price change, unlike medicine, so I know one thing: if I reduce the price, people's demand will be more than the price change. So in that case, my revenue will increase. The more the people will demand, the more they will tend to buy. So the more they tend to buy, the more revenue there will be for the firms. So the first information that we need to know about elasticity of demand is how is it responding to the change in the price? Once we've analyzed this, then we ask ourselves, are there other factors that to which the demand for something responds?
Sir, so could you kindly repeat about the revenue part?
Okay, suppose what do you call it? The price of medicine goes up by 5%.
Yeah.
Now, according to the law of demand, we are supposed to reduce our consumption of medicine, right? But in this case, are we going to reduce the consumption of medicine?
No, because we're gonna have to have it anyway.
You have to have it anyway. So if your doctor says that you have to take 2 tablets every day of a vitamin tablet, so even if the price goes up by 5%, you are not going to reduce your consumption. So what happens to the pharmaceutical company? Doesn't their revenue go up?
Yeah, like yeah.
It is price times quantity.
Since I'm buying it.
Yeah. So revenue is price times quantity. And similarly, if the demand for the commodity responds to the price change, then in case of, say, Arong Shari or Arong Punjabis or whatever, what will happen if you increase the price by 5%? Don't you expect that people's demand will increase by more than 5%?
No.
No? Arong
Yeah. It would.
It would, because if you define Arong as a designer company, designer clothes, so if the price of Arong apparel falls by, say, 5%, and we assume that the demand will increase by more than 5%, so what happens? Price has fallen by 5%, but quantity has increased by more than 5%. So if we look at the change of PQ, the revenue will be more. So the first thing that we want to increase, right? So the first thing we want to look at is what is elasticity? What are the types of elasticity? How does elasticity affect our revenue? That's the first thing that we want.
All right, sir. But sir, why are we assuming that the demand of the designer clothes will increase by more than 5%?
This is just a normal assumption. Okay. Yes, if for example tomorrow Hotel Intercon gives a special offer, 5% reduction on their buffets.
A lot of people will go there.
Many people will go there, so the demand will be increasing by more than 5%.
Yes, sir.
In that case, if PQ is defined as revenue, then definitely revenue will increase more. So if we know what type of elasticity of demand a good is, then the first thing that we know is it beneficial to reduce the price to increase the demand and then increase our revenue, or is it beneficial to increase the price in the case of medicine? Okay, so this is the first thing we want to know. Second thing we want to know, okay, if other than price, commodities price, what other factors are there that influences the elasticity of demand? So basically, we are not going to look at any mathematics. We are not going to look at the detailed things, but we will be looking at a ratio. And in the previous classes, I think I told you what ratio means. Okay, let's do this one later. This demand. Where is elasticity of demand? Okay. Okay, so what I said was, as the price of something changes, quantity demanded moves in the opposite direction. This is what we know as law of demand. But that doesn't mean that every good will respond in the same way to the same price change. Different goods respond differently to the same price change. So if the price change is say 5%, this is what we are observing, then in the case of a life-saving drug like insulin, if the price of insulin increases by 5%, then what does the law of demand tell us? That the demand for insulin will decrease. Will that be the case?
No, sir.
Oh,
So if there's four possibilities. If the price of insulin increases by 5%, then demand will decrease by more than 5. Demand decreases by exactly 5. Demand decreases by less than 5. Demand does not decrease at all. So common sense tells us, since insulin is a life-saving drug, and if it has nothing to do with the commodities price, rather what your doctor has prescribed to you. So if the doctor has prescribed you have to take 2 injections every day, then whether you are buying the injections in Bangladesh at a lower price, or you're tomorrow morning you're in the UK and you have to buy it at a higher price, it doesn't matter. You have to get 2 injections every day. So in this case, option 4 will be applicable. Now, how do we define option 4? Or how do we interpret option 4? If price increases by 5% and demand remains unchanged, you're going to consume the same number of insulin injections, before and after the price change. What effect does this have on the revenue of the farm? I think we've already discussed this right now, right?
yes, sir.
What will happen? Before the price change and after the price change, people will be consuming the same amount of insulin injections. So if the price increases for a good whose demand does not respond to the price change, then definitely increasing the price will lead to increased revenue. Decreasing the price will lead to decreased revenue. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now.
Sir, demand does not respond to the price change means demand stays the same.
Before and after the price change. This is a special case.
In this scenario, regarding this scenario, this is what the case is.
Yeah. Now, do you guys read print newspaper, or you read from the online?
Both.
Both.
That depends. Both.
Sir, আগে তো প্রিন্ট পড়া হইতো স্যার, আগে প্রিন্ট পড়া হইতো, প্রিন্টারটা আগে পড়া হইতো।
আগে পড়া হতো, আগে means how many years ago?
5 years, 7 years, 10 years.
Okay, 10 years. Okay, the time that you did buy newspapers, have you ever seen that the price of a newspaper has fallen?
No, sir.
No.
No, sir. It has increased like over time. Over the time.
Over time, it has increased, right? Now, people who sell newspapers, nowadays we go for online, but the print media, over time, you will see that the price will never decrease. Now, they are not fools. They might not know elasticity of demand, but they do know that the demand for what do you call it, newspapers, is highly inelastic.
What does it mean, sir?
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Inelastic is a technical term. The demand for newspapers does not respond to the price change. If the price of say Daily Star tomorrow goes from 12 taka to 14 taka, I'm not going to change my subscription of the Daily Star, will I?
No, sir.
I will probably go for Daily Star if the Daily Star is the newspaper that I prefer. Now, if somebody says, no, I don't like Daily Star, I like Dhaka Tribune, okay, no problem. If Dhaka Tribune increases their price from 12 taka to 14 taka tomorrow,
We won't change either.
their readers are not going to abandon them. Okay, so what happens is, this is why Daily Star and Dhaka Tribune or any other Bangla newspapers or whatever, they know very well it is not a clever thing to reduce their price, like Hotel Intercon buffet to attract customers. Because Hotel Intercon buffet, the demand responds to the price change. Do you get the logic now?
Yes, sir.
Now, if we look at a cup of tea on the street, have you ever seen that the cup of tea has decreased over time?
Never.
Never.
No.
Because that demand is highly inelastic. But that same tea, if we take it to what do you call it, Hotel Intercon, and there you might find a situation where they made a special offer during Eid. There will be special tea on at 10% reduction. People will respond to that tea because that particular tea in that particular context, that its demand responds to the price change. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let's get back to the slide.
Hello,
section.
sir.
Yes.
Sir, in that case, the demand of medicine will be inelastic.
Inelastic. Inelastic. Just read it as does not respond to price change.
Okay, sir.
Elastic responds to price change. Because what happens is these elastic and inelastic terms, these are borrowed from physics. So if you're not familiar with these terms, you can just translate it as inelastic means doesn't respond to the price change. Elastic means does respond to the price change. Yes. এই সামিয়া তাবাসসুম নামে কেউ আছে? Please switch your mic off. Okay. So inelastic demand is this is how we define the inelastic demand verbally.
Sir, এটা হচ্ছে demand, right? Like inelastic demand does not respond to the price change, or elastic demand responds to the price change.
We'll be able to make it clear when we see the ratio. So
Okay, sir.
inelastic demand আমরা এইভাবে বলতে পারি. Number one, demand is less responsive to the change in price. What does that mean? If the price increases by 1%, demand decreases by less than 1%. When we use the phrase demand is less responsive to the change in price, what that means is if the price increases by 1%, demand will decrease by less than 1%. That means demand will decrease 0.9, 0.8, anything like that. Acha. Another way of looking at the inelastic demand is, since we said it's not responding, demand does not always depend on the commodity's own price, like we saw in the last class. It can depend on the price of a complement substitute, income, or any other factor. So if we generalize this thing, then the demand is also less responsive to change in non-price factor. Once we get to the non-price factor part, it will be clear. For the time being, we assume that this phrase is okay. What we mean by inelastic demand is demand responds less than the change in price.
Okay, sir. Responds less, sir, right? Like,
Yes.
like it's not like that. It doesn't respond at all.
No, it doesn't respond at all is also responds less, but that's the extreme case.
Yeah. But it can respond to a certain degree.
Yeah. Once we get to the sorry. Once we get to the ratios, it will be clear. Acha. If a consumer's consumption is restricted for whatever reason, okay, so what will happen? There will be little change in the demand before and after the change, right?
Sir, could you ask the question again?
I'll say it again. Over here. If for whatever reason, not a price reason, it's a non-price factor. If the demand finds difficult to respond, then what will happen? The demand will be unchanged before and after the price change, right? Huh? Let me give you an example, and when we get into the in detail, we'll detail again. You have to go to Chittagong right now for an unavoidable program that you have to attend. Somebody's death, you just heard, you have to go to Chittagong right just at this very moment. The only way you can go is by plane. So is your demand going to respond to the price change?
No, sir.
No.
So what will happen? Your demand for going to Chittagong has nothing to do with the ticket price, but the airlines know that you are going to buy the ticket right now, not 7 days in advance. So what happens if you go to the airport right now and you just say, I want a ticket right now, that ticket will be priced very high, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what
Over
happens
here-
every time you book a air ticket, sir.
So what happens if you're booking it 7 days in advance, your demand is flexible. So it's elastic. If you want the ticket right now and you have to go to Chittagong, you heard death news, you have no other alternative, then your demand for the price ticket is not at all flexible. So the plane companies, they know this, that somebody who's buying 7 days in advance is more flexible than somebody who's going to buy it at the last moment. So what do? They make two different prices. If you book 7 days in advance, you get this price. If you book at the last moment, you get this price. Why? Because at the last moment, our demand is not at all responding. We are more constrained to become flexible. You got the logic now?
Yes, sir.
So that type
Yes,
of
sir.
demand is also highly inelastic. Okay, it's not responding, but it's not responding to a price factor. It's not responding to a non-price factor. So
Sir,
now,
so sir, inelastic for inelastic, less and doesn't, in between two terms, which is more appropriate? Is this less responsive or doesn't respond price?
Acha,
Yes.
okay, can you kindly say that again? I mean, একটু echo হয়েছিল.
Okay, sir. The thing is, for inelastic demand, the less response and the doesn't response, which term is appropriate for the inelastic demand?
Good.
Main-
I'm going to answer that question right now. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Acha, just after this slide, there will be a range, and then we'll. Acha, how do you think the high-end mobile prices are priced? Have you ever seen when a high-end mobile comes onto the market, isn't the price very high?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So there's two high-end mobile phones on the market. One is Apple iPhone and one is, say, Samsung S series. Okay, so when S series and Apple, they launch their new product, it's extremely high, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yes, sir.
No, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
No, sir, কে বলছে?
Sir, yes, sir.
ও আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে না
So
somebody
সবাই
might
yes
say
sir
no,
বলো
sir.
তো।
Now if somebody is so rich that Apple phone is like Walton phone to them, that can be possible, isn't it? Okay, anyhow, so when the latest high-end mobile phones launch into the market, they are priced extremely high. 1 month later, both of those two phones reduce the price. Have you noticed?
Yes, sir.
Why do they do this? They're not fools, because those who are going to buy the first time are the persons who cannot wait. Their demand is less responsive.
And
Those
they
who
are
are
more
going to buy
loyal.
1 month later are the ones who can wait. So their demand is more responsive, more flexible. Got the logic now?
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes, sir.
so if, for example, even before launching, these companies also take pre-orders.
Yeah.
So
Okay, sir.
who is going to make a pre-order? Somebody who can't wait at all. The moment
Well-
it's launched, that person has to have it, and then they're going to take a photo and post it on Instagram or in their Facebook news feed. দেখো আমার কাছে না latest ফোনটা আছে. There are lots of your friends who do that, don't they?
Yes, sir. Mirror selfie.
Oh, you yourself as well.
No, no, sir. I said mirror selfie. They post mirror selfies.
Oh, what's that?
Sir, in front of the mirror, they take the phone and take a picture, like to show to flaunt the logo.
Oh, acha, acha, acha. And usually that logo is an Apple logo, right?
Full logo, yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So anyhow, so the thing, these are the things that we are going to think about. So let's get back to the slides and we'll answer the question of the other person. Okay. So, acha.
কিন্তু স্যার এই যে অ্যাপেলের এক্সাম্পলটা নিয়ে একটা কোয়েশ্চেন ছিল স্যার।
হ্যাঁ, বলো।
হ্যাঁ, সেটা হচ্ছে স্যার ওই যে হচ্ছে 1 মাস পরে যে দাম কমে যায় স্যার বললেন যেটা,
হ্যাঁ।
ওটা তো স্যার এই কারণেও হয় না যে 1 মাস পরে তো আবার নতুন একটা প্রোডাক্ট চলে আসে।
না, 1 মাস পর নতুন প্রোডাক্ট আসে না। নতুন প্রোডাক্ট আসতে at least 2 বছর লাগে।
অ্যাপেলের আসছে না 1 মাস পরে প্রোডাক্ট।
না স্যার, নট স্পেসিফিক্যালি অ্যাপল, যেমন স্যার স্যামসাং এর প্রোডাক্ট তো মানে 2 মাস 4 মাস পরে আসেই।
হ্যাঁ।
সো মানে নতুন প্রোডাক্ট
না,
আসলে তো
কিন্তু
পুরানো
S series does not come every 2 months.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's a new
S series
product
is the
line.
flagship model.
Okay,
Flagship
okay.
models will be launched once a year or once every 2 years.
Okay, sir.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go and stop share. Where is it? Whiteboard jai. Acha, who asked me the question less responsive, no responsive?
Sir, me.
What's your
does
name?
it-
Me, everybody in this class is me.
I'm sorry, sir. Sorry, sir. Sumaya, sir.
Sumaya, okay, lovely. So this is how we define elasticity of demand. It's a ratio. Elasticity of demand is equal to percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price of X. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Now, এটা ভালো মতো দেখো এবং I'm going to just discuss this thing verbally. How many of you fear maths?
Sir, me. I'm
Very
Sumaya.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Now everybody is me. People don't have their names
Nice.
anymore, na?
Sir, Sumaya.
Tamanna.
Acha, okay. The thing is, if you look at a ratio,
Sir, Sharafat.
oh, you're also afraid of maths. Okay, no problem. Look at this ratio. Forget all these technical terms.
Sir, for now,
ratio-
for now.
Oh, no, okay. A ratio can
Yeah.
take only 3 values. 3টা ভ্যালুর বেশি রেশিও হবে না. If the numerator and the denominator are the same, the value of the ratio will be 1. Otherwise, it's greater than 1 or it's less than 1. There can be no other values for any ratio. Do we all agree?
Yes, sir.
Okay, if we say that the ratio is equal to 1, then we have a definite relationship that numerator and denominator are the same value. If not, then either numerator is larger than denominator, that means ratio is greater than 1, or denominator is larger than numerator, so that means the ratio is less than 1. Once we have a situation like that, we ask the question, if it is greater than 1, by how much will it be greater than 1? If it is less than 1, by how much will it be less than 1? That's it. Ratios cannot have any other value. The initial quantification of ratio is what is its relationship with 1. If it's greater than 1, numerator is responding to the denominator. Can you visualize it? If the ratio
Yes,
is
sir.
greater
It's
than 1,
everywhere.
numerator must be responding to the change in the denominator, right?
Exactly.
If that is the case, demand must be elastic. If that is the case, demand is responding to the price change. Second thing was, if the ratio is less than 1, what does that mean? The numerator is definitely less than the denominator. That means quantity demanded, which was on the top, is not responding to the price. Clear?
So,
Yes, sir.
Okay, lovely.
so
Now,
if it is 1, then I didn't get that part actually.
okay, no problem. Now we'll get it. Where's the color? So elasticity of demand we are defining as percentage change in quantity demanded by percentage change in price. So this is how we defined it. And then we said there's three values that can be possible. Number one, this one is greater than 1. What does this mean? The numerator must be greater than the denominator, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
That means now that's the technical part. How do we verbally define it?
Elastic.
Demand response to price change. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next one was percentage change in quantity demanded by percentage change in price is less than 1. When will this be possible? When the numerator is less than the denominator, right? Otherwise, it's not possible at all.
Yes.
Okay. So now, if we want to verbally write this, demand
Does not respond to the price
does
change.
not, less responsive. To price change. আচ্ছা, এখন then what we said was less responsive. তার মানে it is less than 1. How less can something be less than 1? Can we find a limit? Something is less than 1, then its value can be 0.9, its value can be 0.4, its value can be 0.3. এরকম কমতে কমতে once it starts to reduce, what is the lower limit that can we can observe? Isn't it 0?
Yes.
Now somebody might say, why can't it be negative? We are ruling out negative values. If we rule out negative values, then we said that anything less than 1 is inelastic. Anything less than 1 ratio means that the numerator quantity demanded responds less than the price change. Then our next question is, by how much can it reduce? It can only be 0. So Sumaya, when you ask me does not respond at all, that means the ratio will then be 0. In the case of insulin, price goes up by 1%, demand will still remain unchanged. Whatever number of insulin injections that patient was taking yesterday, the patient will take the same number of insulin injections again today. Clear?
When it will be 0, that means it doesn't have demand.
No, the demand does not respond at all. Less than 1 means less responsive.
Okay.
Okay, but less responsive does not mean that but when it reduces, the extreme case is 0. 0 che niche আর নামবে না, আর নামবে 0 che?
No.
So once
can
we
be
see that the ratio is equal to 0, that means the top, the numerator does not respond at all to the price change.
Okay.
So what I'm doing, basically, I'm just verbally writing these things. So if now, where is the black ink? Not in a pen. If it reduces, it can reduce maximum down to px is equal to 0. Quantity demand does not respond to price change at all. Is this clear now?
Yes, sir.
এর চেয়ে নিচে তো আর নামবে না, নামবে?
No, sir.
Okay, lovely. Then our example is the insulin.
Yes,
Price
sir.
increases by 5%, demand unchanged. So if we use this information and plot it here, what do we get? Price has increased by 5%. Let it increase. What has happened to the quantity demanded? Did it respond at all?
No, sir. Zero.
So then the elasticity value becomes 0. It does not respond at all. But if it was like this, so price increased by 5%, quantity demanded decreases by say 4.5%. Oh, sorry. Yeah, less than that. Why? Less than 5% quantity demanded. Okay. Now, if we have this as well, how do we interpret this? Do we agree?
Yes, sir.
আচ্ছা,
Yes.
তাহলে এখন প্রশ্ন হচ্ছে, if something is larger than 1, কত পর্যন্ত লার্জ হতে পারে? If something is less than 1, we said that it can reduce down to 0. So if something is greater than 1, how large can it be? এটা একটা প্রশ্ন আসতে পারে না?
Yes, sir.
The answer in this case is theoretically it can be up to infinity.
Yes, sir.
ঠিক আছে?
Yes, sir.
Because we said that we are not taking negative numbers. If we don't take negative numbers, we know that the lower bound cannot be less than 0, but the upper bound can be anything greater than 1.
Yes, sir.
So infinity doesn't mean 10 million, 20 million. Infinity means it's highly responsive to price change.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if we look at the other bound, so if it increases upper bound will be infinity. তাহলে এখন আমাদের দেখো তো, elasticity of demand is equal to 0. We call this perfectly inelastic. Acha, what was the verbal phrase? Does not respond at all. Okay, after that, what do we say? Elasticity less than 1. This is inelastic. So how? What was the verbal thing? Can somebody remember?
Less responsive to
Correct.
price change.
You observe. You are a good observer. Less responsive to price change. আচ্ছা, আমরা 1টা দেখবো না, 1টা আমাদের দরকার নাই।
স্যার
Yes.
স্যার আপনি যে ইনসুলিনের এক্সাম্পলটা দিয়েছিলেন
হ্যাঁ।
ওখানে প্রাইস ইনক্রিজ হলে ডিমান্ড আনচেঞ্জ থাকবে।
হ্যাঁ।
সো হোয়াট ইফ দ্য প্রাইস ইজ ডিক্রিজ?
আচ্ছা, that's not a clever thing to think about, but we'll see what the logical problem with that is. Okay, এটা লিখে নেন।
It will never change because the revenue will fall.
হ্যাঁ, that's not a clever thing to do. It's theoretically possible, but if you were the owner of the pharmaceutical company, would you do that? knowing that people,
No, sir. If I am a consumer of that insulin, then I will definitely stock more.
that's a different thing. If you stock more, huh, but even then there's an expiry date to the injections. How much will you stock?
That's the point.
তাই না? মানে you can't stock infinitely or indefinitely, right? Okay,
sir.
so the other one was greater than 1. How did we, what did we say? This is elastic. And the verbal way was respond
to price change.
Price change. That's it. So what we are doing, basically we are using verbal expressions, and then we said that if it carries on to infinite, greater than 1, then এটাকে আমরা বলি perfectly elastic. This is a theoretical case, but actually what means is it is highly responsive to price change. Okay, done.
Yes, sir. For those generic products যেখানে স্যার সবাই একই প্রাইস রাখে, যেরকম
Sorry,
কলা, স্যার ফর জেনেরিক প্রোডাক্টস, মানে যেগুলো কি পারফেক্ট মার্কেট, যেখানে সবাই একই প্রাইস রাখে, ওগুলো
হ্যাঁ।
যদি কেউ 1 টাকাও ইনক্রিজ করে,
হ্যাঁ,
সেই কেসে এটা হবে যে
no 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 no
ইনফিনিটি,
ওখানে increase হবে না, because if we are looking at the commodity markets like bananas, okay, that doesn't have any substitute. In the sense, whoever is selling the banana, in my eyes they are the same. We clarified that last week, right?
Yes, sir.
So we are just looking at if the price goes up, okay, so what happens to how does the demand respond? We're not looking at a commodity market at the moment. Okay,
Okay, sir.
okay, now let's get back to the slides. Acha, এখন you guys tell me what you understand by this. Read and tell me. When the demand is highly elastic, that means demand responds to the price change. In that case, if I know that the demand for the thing that I'm selling is elastic, what will I do from common sense? Will I reduce the price to increase my revenue, or increase the price to increase my revenue?
Sir, can you repeat the question again?
So decrease the price.
If I know that the demand for my product is elastic, that means the demand is responding to the price. So if the price goes up by 1%, demand will fall by more than 1%. What will happen to the revenue?
The revenue will fall.
It will fall.
Fall করবে।
Okay, so if I know that the commodity that I'm selling, for example, Arong designer clothes, or so for example, a buffet at Hotel Intercon, I know that if I increase the price by 5%, lots of people who are my dedicated customers, they'll go somewhere else, or they'll stop coming, right? So what will happen? My revenue will fall. So in industries where demand responds to the price change, you will see that people reduce the price in order to increase their income or their revenue. Designer clothes, fancy restaurants, okay, Taina?
Yes, sir.
So if demand is responding to the price change, like over here that we mentioned, that if elasticity demand is greater than 1, then if price increases by 1%, revenue falls. Then the opposite will happen if I reduce the price. If price decreases by 1%, since it's responding to demand, the demand will increase by more than 1%. So what happens? People demand more, and people demanding more means that the sales of that particular farm that goes up more. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
If demand is inelastic, ঠিক তো উল্টাটা হবে না? Won't it just be the opposite? If you don't understand, I'll explain it. If demand
If-
increases by 1%, sorry, price increases by 1%, my demand will fall by 0.9%. What happens to
Oh,
revenue?
yeah.
Yes, sir.
The
Revenue-
0.9% at max.
আমি 0.9% বললাম তোমাকে, যাও।
Hmm.
তাহলে কি রেভিনিউ বাড়বে না?
Yes, sir.
আচ্ছা,
Yes, sir.
if price increase by 1%, it's a little bit more inelastic. Demand falls by 0.5%. তাহলে কি রেভিনিউ বাড়বে না?
Yes, sir.
Price increases by 1%, revenue demand decreases by 0.5%, which is less than 1. Won't the revenue increase?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So if you can visualize it, we don't need the mathematics actually, you see? Okay. That means if my commodity demand does not respond to price, like insulin injections, like salt, like even some basic rice, not the high-end, basmati rice, or say Thai fragrant rice, not those ones, but the basic rice. This is something that people will definitely have, the basic starch in Bangladesh. So do you see the price of those rices fall over time, or has the price of those things
No, sir.
increased
No.
over time?
Yes, sir.
Increased
sir.
over time, তাই না?
Yes, sir.
Okay, same thing has happened for medicine. Same thing has happened for print media and newspapers. Okay, so what happens is that what we started off with today is that if the demand for something is inelastic, the demand does not respond to price change. In that case, increasing the price is a clever way to increase the revenue. That's why you will find that newspapers over time have never reduced in price. Medicine has never reduced in price. Okay, so because these things are inelastic in demand, that means the demand doesn't respond that much. এটা আমাদের দরকার নাই, demand neutral. এটা আমরা অনেকবার বলে ফেলছি কিন্তু already. We have discussed this many times. Right? If demand does not respond to price change at all, then the elasticity of demand is equal to 0.
Yes,
It's
sir.
perfectly inelastic. So in that case, if I decrease the price, people will still buy the same amount. They're not going to buy more. So what happens? My revenue will fall. If I increase the price, the people will still buy the same. So my revenue will increase. So when something is highly inelastic or totally inelastic in demand, that means the demand does not respond at all. In that case, increasing the price is the clever thing to do. So now we just summarize. Look at
So,
no, sorry.
when hello, sir.
Carry on.
Sir, when the inelasticity happen, so increasing price, how can it make flexible? Decrease can happen. Decrease can't make it flexible.
No, decrease can happen, but is decreasing the price a clever thing to do? Have you ever seen the newspapers decrease in
No,
price?
no. Okay.
But they can definitely decrease it tomorrow. ঠিক আছে? But
Yes,
the thing
sir.
is, but normally newspapers have never decreased in price over time.
Yes, sir. But sir, the thing is, I have a question, another regarding. It's not related, but indirectly. The today's commodity, everything is increasing. It's not decreasing it.
Sorry?
We cannot. Every commodities are increasing. Commodity market price are increasing. So the demand, specific food items can, what's that?
It's increasing over time. This is what you're trying to say.
Yes, sir. Over the time.
Okay,
So, sir,
in that case, what happens is something else other than the variables that we're looking at is influencing the demand. One of the reasons is population growth.
okay.
Now, if you put population growth into your analysis, won't it make sense that the price is increasing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then now you think from another point of view that the population is increasing in Dhaka city every day. Okay, but lots of people are coming from various parts of the country to work. And then what happens? That doesn't mean that the food supply can increase overnight, can it?
Yes, yes, sir.
So
But the
naturally,
demand can.
demand can definitely increase. Anybody can just enter Dhaka city and
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
but if we look at food and nothing else, is it
Yes.
possible to increase food supply overnight?
No.
So what will happen? The price of food will automatically go up.
Yes, sir.
Is it clear now?
Yes, sir. I
Okay, so the thing is, when you look at other factors, then you just ask yourself a common sense that what else could be, you know, influencing the change over here, for
Okay,
which
sir.
reason that the price is increasing. Okay, so now forget the first one. Do we agree with the second one? I've rewritten all the four. For something that is price elastic, price increase will drop revenue, price decrease will rise revenue. Do we agree?
Yes, sir.
Okay. For something that is price inelastic, price increase will drop in revenue, price rise.
Rise in revenue.
No, wait. Price increase. No, price increase will increase the revenue. Hi. I made a typo. It rise code there.
Price decreased, revenue decreased.
হ্যাঁ this will drop. এটা হচ্ছে কপি পেস্ট করছি তো খেয়াল করিনি তখন। This one is okay. Drop, rise. Okay, and when something is totally does not respond to price at all, the common sense tells us that a price rise will rise in revenue, price drop in decrease will lead to a drop in revenue. আচ্ছা, এখন before we get to graphs, what did we say? That the denominator যত ছোট হবে, the ratio becomes larger, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Denominator, if the numerator becomes larger compared to the denominator, ratio becomes larger, right?
Yes, sir.
So now we are going to see this same thing graphically. And I'm pretty sure there's nobody in the class who will say that they don't understand. Which of the two demands is inelastic? Which of the two demands is elastic? Inelastic means it's not responding to price. Elastic means it is responding to price.
The right
Left
one is
inelastic.
elastic.
Right one is
And
elastic.
Yes, sir.
Why? এখন বলো।
Because if you see, because of that small change in demand, the price.
Because of the change in price first. Demand response later.
Sorry, he said the
Okay.
opposite one. Because of that small change in price, the demand shifted way too much.
So it is elastic, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, the demand is where? On the numerator or the denominator? In the ratio?
Numerator.
So over here, what is happening? Because the price has fallen, demand has increased a lot. People are willing to buy more. So if the price change over here is 1%, P1 to P2 in the right panel, that response in the quantity must be more than 1%, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So how do we interpret this? We interpret this very simply that if the price has fallen by 1%, demand has responded by more than 1%. So the revenue of the firm must be increasing. Does this make sense visually?
Yes, sir.
Now look at it oppositely, that the price has increased from P2 to P1. What will happen? The demand will respond in the opposite direction by much
Q2
more
to
than the price.
Q1.
So people will be buying much more less than the change in the price. So
Yes,
if we
sir.
look at this same graph from the opposite direction, the graph is telling us that the price has fallen and the demand response is much, much more to the right. But if we looked at the graph just opposite way, that the price has changed now from P2 to P1, demand will also fall from Q2 to Q1, but the demand fall is much, much more percentage wise than the price price increase, right?
Yes, sir.
So what will happen? The revenue will also fall much, much more. Okay, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
আচ্ছা তাহলে এই জিনিসটাও কি বোঝাতে হবে তাহলে inelastic demand price has increased by 1%, demand has fallen by less than 1%. So
Sir.
which one is more? Revenue টা বড় না এখানে?
Yes, sir. The price change is more, but the demand change is not that much.
Not that much. So just from this
Yes,
graph,
sir.
we can convince somebody who doesn't know anything about elasticity, or who does not know at all anything about mathematics, that if we increase the price from P1 to P2, demand is not going to fall by that much. So in the P times Q, if that is the definition of revenue, the P increases more than the Q.
Yes.
So the revenue will increase.
Right.
Now let us look at this same thing opposite direction from P2 to P1 on the left panel. If the price falls, definitely the revenue will fall much more. And
The
finally,
revenue will the revenue will fall, but the demand change is again not that much.
yeah, that's true. Eta হচ্ছে insulin demand. When
Zero.
there is no response at all. See, whatever the price change, whether we are looking at P1, P2, or P3, there is no change in the demand. It's always Q. So if your doctor has recommended or prescribed that you have to take 2 insulin injections every day, so whatever the price, P1, P2, or P3, your demand for the number of insulin injections will remain unchanged.
Perfectly inelastic.
It is perfectly inelastic, right? Correct. And verbally does not respond at all.
Yeah.
So is this demand responding at all to the price change? Is this demand responding at all? No. So the technical term is perfectly inelastic, and ratio wise, then the ratio will become equal to 0. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
এখন let's do where are we? আচ্ছা এটা আমি জাস্ট পড়ে যাই একবার, then I'll explain it. Price is the first variable. Bless you. The price is the first variable. আচ্ছা ভালো কথা, just a second, let me stop share. Does anybody know how from where the phrase bless you comes from?
Yes,
No,
sir.
sir.
Alhamdulillah.
No, sir.
Now, Alhamdulillah is the Muslim way of Muslim thing, but where does when somebody sneezes in every culture people say bless you, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
But God bless you.
Yes,
Whether
sir.
you are saying Alhamdulillah, whether you are saying God, but whatever the terminology you use, but everybody God bless you, bole na?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Acha, in the Middle Ages, have you heard about the Black Death? That was another plague.
Yes, sir.
Acha, during the first symptoms of the Black Death was people sneezing. So in Europe, the moment they used to see that somebody has started to sneeze, bolto je God bless you. Just below Europe, in the northern part of Africa, that was the Muslim belt. তখন বলতো Alhamdulillah. Got it? So that's why whenever we see somebody sneezing, we say bless you. অথবা Alhamdulillah বলি, ঠিক আছে? Okay, we get back to the. This is a thing from the Black Death. Anyhow, price is the first variable against which we analyze how demand responds. That's how it started, and that's why we use the word price elasticity of demand. But demand can respond to many factors other than price. These are the non-price factors. So when price elasticity of demand was first studied, or elasticity of demand was first studied, it was studied against its own price. That's why we called it price elasticity of demand. But from the demand function from last week, we know very well that commodity's own price is not the only factor that affects demand. So quantity demanded can respond to a different denominator. So instead of change in price, if we want to see how demand responds to income, we call it income elasticity of demand. Okay.
So just before when I asked when the population will be increased, I had this question. If today's income is decreasing, so the basic commodity price will automatically fall, right?
Income is decreasing.
I mean, if today's, say for example, those, I mean, we are now job. I mean, what's the unemployment is increasing. So if they want to make profit a commodities market, so definitely they have to reduce a bit price, because if they are increasing the price day by I mean within a day or within a 1 week, they are not going to get buyer. So income obviously make an if income today is decreasing, that means that will make a back impact to the commodity market also, in the elasticity market also.
Okay, so that's the way that you've thought, right? That's the way that you're thinking at the moment, right?
Yes, sir, I'm thinking. I mean,
okay, now let me tell you something that's practical about Dhaka city. এই লকডাউনের ফলে বহু মানুষ কিন্তু ঢাকা থেকে বাইরে চলে গেছে।
Yes, sir.
Who left Dhaka? The day laborers
yes, sir.
who are totally dependent on day income.
Yes, sir.
If they have income, they eat. If they don't have the income, they don't eat. So the moment they heard that Dhaka city is going under lockdown, they left the city, because in the village they will survive one way or the other. Okay, so the population has fallen, and who has remained in Dhaka city? People who can survive, people like us.
Yes, sir.
So we and then the supply is closed. The supply definitely the chain is now more restricted than it was before lockdown.
Yes, sir.
And the price of the food goes up. Now does that make sense?
Okay, sir. Okay.
So you just think with common sense. That's it. এখন তো মডেলটা more it's more representative, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So let's get back. So when elasticity of demand was discussed, it was discussed against commodity's own price. But if we want to see how demand responds to income, we get the concept of income elasticity. If we want to discuss how demand responds to, say, substitutes and complements, we get cross price elasticity. Now, the points can be to note now: can demand respond to the change in the variable? If the answer is yes, the demand is flexible, the demand is elastic. Doesn't matter whether that is against commodities price, doesn't matter whether that is against time. So if the answer is yes, then the question is by how flexible it is. If it is quite flexible, we say it's elastic. If it's less flexible, we say it's inelastic. Okay, and then the last question that we want to ask is, what is the nature of the response of this variable? For this, we know if substitutes are widely available, then the price of the commodity can be counterproductive.
Yes, because I may shift to that substitute, right?
Yes. Then the next question comes: how quickly can I shift? There's two cars. One is a Toyota. One is a Maruti Suzuki.
Yes, sir.
And I already own a car. So if the price of what do you call it, Maruti Suzuki falls, will I be able to switch that easily?
No, sir.
No, sir.
So in that case, my demand is not going to respond. Got the logic?
Yes, sir.
But if I'm a first-time buyer, So what will happen if the price of the Maruti is cheaper, but with the similar facilities as that of a Toyota? I will definitely jump to Maruti Suzuki. If I don't have any, snobbery that no, I have to, I'm not going to use an Indian car. I have to go for a Japanese car. If I don't have that type of snobbery, I will definitely go for the Maruti Suzuki Indian car, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So just because the person who said that we are comparing against substitutes, the question is, how quick can I change? If I can change quickly, then my demand is flexible. If I can't change quickly, then my demand is less flexible. Then it becomes inelastic. If I can change quickly, it becomes elastic. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir.
With the same logic as that we tried to establish from the beginning with the commodity's own price. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Now, this is a very interesting thing. This happens to you whenever you go to the shop. How big is the commodity to your total expenditure? When we go to a shop, suppose I've run out of chewing gum. I love chewing gum. Do I go to the shop just to buy chewing gum? Or normally do I go to I buy chewing gum and other things? Normally.
Yes, sir.
Well, normally what do we do? Normally.
Basic. I mean, what I actually want to buy for the purpose, I have to go to the shop.
No, you have to go to the shop, but suppose you like chewing gum. Okay. অথবা অনেকে আছে না জিরা খায় জিরা সরি জিরা তো না ওই ড্রাইড জিঞ্জার আদা
Yes, sir. Yes,
অনেকে
sir.
আছে না এগুলি খায়
Yes, sir.
আচ্ছা now you've run out of dried ginger your munchies and you are will you go to the shop just for the munchies or
No.
you will buy the munchies in your weekly grocery?
No,
With
sir.
my weekly grocery.
Most of the times we buy
make it
small
work.
items in a
Maximum
weekly
pack.
grocery most of the times তাই না
Yes, sir.
আচ্ছা
It can happen, but
can happen but it
maximum.
normally doesn't happen.
Exactly.
Okay, so when I go to the tomorrow I have to go. My wife gave me a siren this afternoon that tomorrow we have to go and buy food. So once we go to the super shop, well, my wife is definitely going to buy some very big items, say meat, fish, and other items which are a big percentage of our total expenditure. Now, once I get to the shop, I might want to buy some Mars chocolate bar, which I do. One of the treats that I like buying the Mars chocolate bars. Now, Mars chocolate bar to my total expenditure tomorrow will be a very small percentage, right?
Yes, sir.
So if the price of Mars chocolate bar increases by 10%, will my demand respond? If it is a small item in my total budget?
No, sir.
It won't. So another thing is Mars chocolate bar, maybe one bar is 55 taka, which is quite expensive. But if I'm doing this purchase of Mars bar in my weekly grocery, that 55 taka I won't observe because it's a small percentage in my total expenditure.
Yes, sir.
So if you notice very carefully, these super shops, they increase the price of these small items over time because people don't notice it. But what do? They'll give you big, very big notices that today the meat is 10% off. Today the special mangoes from particular part of Bangladesh is 5% off. Have you noticed it?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Why? Because the percentage of consumption of those items is a large percentage in your total box. So your demand will be more responsive to those items than the small ones like a Mars chocolate bar. Got it?
Yes, sir.
And if you notice over the next one year, for example, air freshener, if you don't buy the air fresheners which are from Bangladesh, say you some foreign air freshener, you just observe the price over the next 1 year. Just see how it goes up. Because when you don't go to the shop to buy air freshener only. Air freshener is one of the items you will buy in a weekly or a monthly grocery. So another thing is, if the commodity, if it's a very small percentage in our total consumption, then our demand tends to be inelastic. Demand tends to respond less to a price change. That's why in a super shop, you will never see somebody, you know, that the Mars chalk bars are 5% off. You won't see these things, but you will see that in the fish corner, it's 10% off. It was 500 taka kg, this particular fish, today is 450. People respond to that because that fish is a large percentage in their total budget. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Positioning the good. This is a psychological matter. I think we say in a previous class we mentioned that if you walk down the aisles, the chocolates will always be at the eye level of a child at 3 feet high. Have you noticed?
Yes, sir.
Chocolates will never be at 5 feet or 6 feet high. Because chocolates, the main consumer is going to be the child, and the child is probably walking with his or her mom or dad, and the child will be looking at a 3 feet elevation height. So how do you position the product to make it lucrative so that people's demand responds to it? This has nothing to do with the price. This is a psychological perception, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me tell you another one, a behavioral. That is, if you look at very expensive perfumes in a horizontal line, the most expensive perfumes will always be in the middle. Do you know why? Can somebody tell me why?
So that the product value can't their specific value can't decrease or
No.
I mean,
Does-
increase or decrease may
No, no, no.
ভেঙে
It's
পড়ে
a
যাবে।
totally
Repeat your question
psychological
again.
matter. Let me tell you why.
স্যার বেশি উপরে
Center of
রাখলে
attention.
No, 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 no.
পড়ে যাবে।
You just close your eyes,
So that
everybody close your eyes and think about a wonderful sunset. Where do you see the sun? Do you see the sun in the middle or to the right or the left?
in the middle.
99% people will say they see the sunset or the sunrise on a horizon in the middle.
Yes.
Acha, when you look at a dartboard, dart খেলে না মানুষ?
Yes, sir.
তো চোখটা আগে কোথায় যায়? Doesn't it go to the center?
Yes, sir.
Human beings are programmed to look at the center first. That's how our perception is wired. So if you look at a what do you call it? If you go to any grocery shop and you just look at the place where they selling expensive cologne, expensive perfumes or whatever, the most expensive ones will always be in the middle.
So that I mean, people
if,
can
yeah, so if it's in the
grab it.
middle, people will notice it and then their demand will respond. If it is in on one side or somewhere off the center, then people will notice it less, and once people notice it less, the demand will be less responsive.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now you guys should know these things. These are common sense things, Jodio. So I just gave you one example of how to position a good. Now this one we have already discussed. If we have time to adjust, our demand is flexible. That means if I can buy a ticket 7 days in advance. But
স্যার একটা কোয়েশ্চেন করতে পারি?
হ্যাঁ, sure.
স্যার কাউন্টারের পাশের যে প্রোডাক্টগুলো থাকে ওগুলাতে কিন্তু আমাদের অ্যাটেনশন সবচেয়ে বেশি গ্র্যাব করে, সো ওইখানেও তো থাকতে পারতো, ওখানে কেন রাখে না ওরা?
মানে কাউন্টারের পাশে মানে কি একটা চেক আউট?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, ওখানে যে আমরা মোস্টলি নোটিস করি ওখানে চকলেটস থাকে, সো দ্যাট বাচ্চারা তাদের প্যারেন্টসদেরকে বলতে পারে যে আমি এটা নিব, সো ওইখানে কেন পারফিউম রাখা হয় না?
Because very simple, you have already finished your grocery.
Yeah,
you finished your grocery. Now you're at the checkout, you're waiting, you can't move from the queue. So what happens if somebody gives you a very expensive item, will you buy it?
No.
You tell me. You've already finished your shopping, because you've finished your shopping, you're with the trolley or your basket and you're waiting to pay. So ওই সময় যদি if somebody presents you a very expensive item, will you respond to it?
No.
You'll respond to a little battery, you'll
Yeah.
respond to a little কি বলে polo bar. ঠিক আছে এবং that's why at the checkout there are very small items which are not at all very expensive.
আচ্ছা, okay.
Because by that time
Sir,
you've already finished your shopping. Okay,
স্যার এয়ারপোর্টে ডিউটি ফ্রি শপেও তো মানে এক্সপেন্সিভ আইটেম থাকে।
sorry,
এয়ারপোর্টে ডিউটি ফ্রি শপ ওখানে তো এক্সপেন্সিভ আইটেম ইয়া করে, কিন্তু ওটা তো মানে কাইন্ড অফ when we check out from a country that increase মানে ওখানে তো সেম কনসেপ্টটা তো ইয়া করতেছে।
well, same concept. And another thing is the duty free shop is such that you're waiting for a plane, right? You don't have anything to do, so you're just waiting, and maybe you're going past a shop and প্রচন্ড সুন্দর সুন্দর গন্ধ হচ্ছে, those smells come out. Achha, let me give you another example. These are very interesting. At one time I used to write a lot about these things. If I'm selling cakes, what will I do? Have you got how many of you went to a pastry shop very recently?
I did.
You did, okay. Nuhash did, okay. Nuhash, when you went, was the whole shop smelling of nice pastry, melting chocolate? Huh?
Yes, sir.
Like creamy smell.
Okay, creamy smell. And the moment you got that creamy smell, didn't you feel hungry?
Yes, sir.
And once you started feeling hungry, didn't your demand for a little bit of pastry start to respond?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is also how you are going to
Sudden
position the goal.
craving for the pastry.
Oh,
Sudden craving.
definitely. I mean, how many of you have gone to Unimart? The one in Dhanmondi? Chef's table na ki jono bole etake?
Gulshan to Unimart.
Acha, Gulshan too is same thing. The moment you enter is full of lots of nice smells, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
The moment you get that smell, the people will start getting hungry, and once you start getting hungry, your demand for the food starts to respond.
Yeah.
এখন এই জিনিসটা তো তারা চেক আউটেও করতে পারতো না?
না, চেক আউটে কি বলবে? করতে পারতো।
করতে পারতো। You wait at the bottom floor, you place an order, the order comes after 5 minutes. এটা করতে পারতো তো?
হ্যাঁ, করতে পারতো।
কিন্তু ওটা করে নাই কেন?
বাট একটা সময় নিয়ে বসার জন্য প্লেস আর টাইম নিচ্ছে আমার শপিং।
হ্যাঁ, but the moment they caught you for 5 minutes, the smell, the whole smell of the room has changed. The smell is getting into your body, and the moment you gets into your nostrils, you start to become hungry. You look at a wonderful dish and you get tempted, and your demand starts to respond. Isn't that also elastic?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
এখন ওখানে
স্যার হোটেলগুলোতে বাইরে বাইরে
লবণ বিক্রি করবে? একটা রেস্টুরেন্টে কি এরকম খোলা লবণ বিক্রি করবে? Will they sell open salt?
No.
Because no one's going to respond to the smell of the salt. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Acha, these two are very simple. If the good is a necessity or a luxury, we have already discussed this. If a good is a necessity, demand is definitely inelastic. We will buy it one way or the other. So cheap rice is a necessity compared to basmati or say Thai fragrant rice. How many functions does a good have? Will this can this influence your demand for the good? How many functions does a good have? Does this influence your demand for the good?
The smell.
No. I'll give you a good example. Acha, who said smell? Nuhash?
Yes, sir. ওই যে দুপুরবেলা দেখবেন হোটেলগুলোতে সামনে গ্রিল চিকেন রেখে দেয়, শিক কাবাব রেখে দেয়।
আচ্ছা, এখন let me paraphrase it like this. What mobile phone do you use?
Xiaomi.
Acha, why do you use it?
Cheap and high performance.
The photo bhalo ashe.
Acha,
I
cheap
have
and high performance.
more than option.
Acha, people okay, Xiaomi jetu asche, I don't use Xiaomi, but I know that lots of people prefer Xiaomi because of its photo capability, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Artificial intelligence of the photo is better than other phones.
Yes, sir.
But you are buying the phone to make a phone call. The phone is no longer, plus budget friendly. Budget friendly. Walton is more budget friendly. Okay. The thing is, when you are buying a mobile phone has multiple types of uses.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
It's no longer a mobile phone, it's a gadget, it's your portal to the internet. Some people might say that no, I use photos much more, so I'm more interested in the photo. For example, some people might say I have to use it to keep in touch with my office for email, so they will go for a email facility. So the more functions that a good has, people's demand for that good will respond quite well compared to a basic phone of say 1000 taka or even 1500 taka. Can you see this phone?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All I can do is make a phone call and receive a phone call. That's it. Okay, this is my secret number, but I don't disclose this number. So my demand for this will not respond as much as it would for a high-end mobile phone, because a high-end mobile phone is no longer. Sorry.
গেম একটা দিছি খেলা খেলেন না আমরা মত দুই ইটে সব বিশ্লেষণ দুই ইটে সব বিশ্লেষণ দুই ইটে আমরা ভাই ভাই ঠিক আছে শুনুন না আমরা তো হিন্দা থাক না আর আমাদের আদা কে তুমি এনে শুরু করে দাও কিছু না আইডা হবে গিয়ে ও কি বুঝু কথা ও পাস পে খাই দাও ও মামু তুমি দেখাই আগে গেল
কথা বলতেছে দেখি
এটা গুড়া গুড়ি আমি
who's this person?
ক্যারাম খেলতেছে নাকি?
কি
ক্যারাম খেলতেছে মনে হয়।
ক্যারাম না,
লুডো খেলতেছে মেবি।
লুডো দুইটার একটা খেলতেছে। I'll tell you what they're doing. They're fighting on who's going to win tomorrow morning, Argentina or Brazil. They're debating that. বুঝছো? And probably they're from Brahmanbaria. এটা হওয়ার একটা পসিবিলিটি আছে। Okay. For example, my daughter is very worried. Or class হচ্ছে শর্টটায় শুরু। আমাকে বলছে খেলা কি শর্টের মধ্যে শেষ হবে? আমরা নাও হতে পারে if it goes to extra time and then penalty shootout. বলেছে এখন কি করব? আমাকে সকালে খেলা দেখতেই হবে। তাই আমি ওকে বললাম যে why don't you fall sick? More than half of Bangladesh is going to fall sick tomorrow. You'll be one of them. Who cares? আনারে বলবো আমি ঘুমতে উঠতে পারি নাই। একদিন মানুষ তো উঠতে নাই পারতে পারে। আর পরে আমার মেয়েকে বললাম যে লেখাপড়া একদিন কম না করলে কিছু এসে যায় না। Go and watch the final. Anyhow, যেটা বল যে কোথায় গেল? আচ্ছা,
have multiple choices.
হ্যাঁ, multiple choices. So where are we? So you see the demand for this phone, basic phone, where you can just make a phone call and just SMS and nothing else. এটার মধ্যে কোনো খেলাও নাই। ঠিক আছে? Will my demand won't this be highly inelastic compared to a high-end phone which has multiple features, whether it's a budget-friendly Xiaomi or it's a high-end Samsung S or an iPhone?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
because the demand is low.
Okay, so these are the factors that through which a person's demand will respond. And once a person's demand responds like this, it
sir.
Huh?
কিন্তু স্যার ফিচার ফোনের মানে কম্পারিজন বা মার্কেট ডিমান্ড তো ফিচার পারের সাথে হবে, মানে ওটা তো স্মার্টফোনের ক্যাটাগরিতে যাবে না।
না, কিন্তু if we that's what I'm saying. How are you positioning the good? If the good is a basic phone call, it doesn't have multiple functions. So the demand for that will not be that মানে এটা low ended লোকরা consume করবে, or people like me who just needs a second phone. ঠিক আছে? আচ্ছা, let me do one thing before we acha the next thing that I want to do, I think we can finish it today. Do we need to give a break, or can we shall we carry on for the next 10 minutes?
Carry on, sir.
Our শেষ করে দেওয়াই better না?
Yes, sir. Carry on, sir.
Yes, sir. Carry on.
Because 10 minutes ইয়ে করে লাভ নাই। আচ্ছা, what we did last week, we said we wanted to look at queues. This is for your homework. I'm not going to explain it. Queues মানে হচ্ছে we stand in a line. So you think that how will people queue? How will people queue? Will they stand in a line? Will they wait for something through pre-order? Will they? How will they respond when something launches just today? So the thing is, how will you define a queue? Next thing I want you guys to think about is what type of a good is would people be willing to queue for? Right now, people would be willing to queue for a Qurbani cow because of COVID. Lots of people are thinking of not giving a Qurbani at home because of the social distancing and everything, right?
Yes, sir.
Many people are going to go for online. Now, for online, you have to pre-book. So, if you want to think that okay, I want to think about queuing of a good, and I want to define it like this. So, the online cattle market during Qurbani Eid is very much similar to people queuing up. You have to pre-book, and then you get your cow on the day of the Eid. So then the question is, if the queuing is not followed, what inefficiency may this lead to? Then you think about an example. I just gave you the online cattle market. You can think about something else. You look at the internet, no problem. You think about what, and then you think about in the context of Bangladesh. Similarly, if we want to ration goods through lotteries, then the question is, what is a lottery? A lottery is something that everybody pays for, but only very few people win. Right?
Yes, sir.
So, for example, if we go to a picnic, we play housey. Lottery করে না picnic. So everybody is paying 10 taka or 100 taka, whatever. But the top prize is worth much more than 100 taka. So the lottery system is that everybody pays a certain amount. That's a little amount, but only one or two people or very few people win the prize. So what type of good can we ration like this, which is very scarce, but at the same time everybody is willing to pay for it? Think about it. I'm not going to tell you, but you think. Okay, and another thing is coupon. What is a coupon? A coupon is, I have a piece of paper which gives me access to a certain service. Shomana Islam. Right. Okay, Shomana Islam officer. Okay. So a coupon is basically a ticket that gives me access to a certain service. Then the question is, if you belong, if in your organization or in your group, whatever, who will you give the coupon to? Somebody you can identify, somebody you can separate out from somebody, other people. Students in BRAC University get a certain coupon, digital coupon, through which they get 300 pages of free print throughout the semester, or 400, whatever, right? I think you guys get a free.
Yes, sir. Undergrad we got. I mean, for printing purpose.
Yeah, for printing was whatever the amount is, the university determines it, whether that's 300, 200, 400, 500, doesn't matter. But the university has identified a particular group of people who will get that coupon. Now, can we give the tickets to a final match through a coupon?
No.
That's not a clever thing to do. So you think about a particular good or a service that can be rationed through coupon system. Then you establish why you want to do it like this. Next thing is that if you don't give that particular thing through coupon, what inefficiency will arise? So this is basically probably the assignment that's going to come next week after the Tuesday class. That is, if the above three alternatives to price appear as an assignment, you shall be expected to address the 4 points that are raised here. So if you want to look at Qs, you have to explain these 4. No, not 4, actually the 3. If you want to think about lotteries, you have to address the answer to these 3. If you think about coupons, then you have to think about these 3. So the 4 questions will have to be addressed in your case study. Then you have to address how these 4 questions relate to your to the relevant example that you want to use. And finally, this is probably you've already seen it. I've shared it. Assignment number 1 will be given after the Tuesday class. Since I'm taking both sections, like if I give it today, then it will be unfair on the next section. You submit through Google Classroom, or you try to enter the Google Classroom. If not, then you can submit through my BRAC University email. Acha. Before that, one person said that they entered the Google Classroom not using G Suite. Who is that person? Somebody said that they entered the Google Classroom using their personal email.
Sir,
who are you? What's your name?
Shahriar Hussain.
Shahriar Hussain. Acha, Shahriar, can you do me a favor? Can you write in the Facebook group how you did it?
Yes, sir.
Because I'm not familiar with these technical terms. So,
Okay.
so if you explain it how you did it, not using G Suite, then other people will be able to exploit it. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So let's get back. Acha. So basically what I'm going to do, I'll distribute the assignment after the Tuesday class, and the deadline is Eid Kobe. ছুটি কবে থেকে শুরু? 19 তারিখ থেকে?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
19th to 24th.
In that case, you submit on 18th.
Sir, এটা ঈদের পরে দেই, sir. Just
a second. Let me say. Trust me, sweetheart. ঈদের পরে দিলে তোমরা 2021 সালেও দিতে পারবে না।
না স্যার, ঈদের ভ্যাকেশনের মানে যেদিন শেষ হবে ওই দিনই দিয়ে দেই স্যার। মানে ঈদের আগে স্যার অলরেডি অনেক কিছু ডিউ আছে স্যার।
তাই না?
অনেক কিছু। জি স্যার।
Yes, sir. I mean, huge.
In the last 6,000 years, have you ever heard students say that their workload was never too hard?
No, sir.
We never said that. I'm sure my grandfather also never said that to his teachers, that না আপনি আরেকটু দিতে পারেন, এটা কোনো ওয়ার্কলোডই হয় না। এটা কোনদিন শুনছো? Have you ever
No,
heard?
sir. No, sir.
That's never happened in history. That's a historical impossibility. আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে, on Tuesday we'll decide what to do.
Yes, sir.
No, sir. We don't have classes on Tuesday, sir.
Yeah, so
the thing is, I mean,
you don't have classes on Tuesday, but I'll give it on Tuesday, and before that I'll also do a video on it. Okay, I'll share the video in my YouTube channel, and I also share it in Facebook group, so don't worry about that.
Okay, sir.
আচ্ছা কিভাবে হবে? এই যে the format will be just like this. You write 2 sides. 2 sides means page number 2 and page number 3. Page number 1 will be the cover page. You if possible, you can mention the bibliography. Plagiarism check will be done, and late submission may be penalized since you will get sufficient time. Okay, ঠিক আছে?
ঈদের পরে the answer deadline.
ঈদের পরে দিলে I promise you won't submit. ঈদের মাঝখানে তোমাদের পুরো শরীর ছেড়ে দিবে, তাই না? You'll get a long vacation, and you will just become lethargic. I'll become lethargic.
না স্যার, না স্যার।
গরুর মাংস আছে, সো হ্যাঁ
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
মানে বেস্ট।
Yes, sir.
You just have to write 2 sides of a page.
Okay, sir.
I've already told you what the questions will be. Okay, I'll frame it in a different way, but I've already given you hints of what the question will be, so you can start thinking now. Okay,
Okay.
আর যেটা হচ্ছে কি I'll try to আর আমাকে তো খাতাগুলো দেখতে হবে।
Yes, sir.
ওদের দুটো সেকশনে কিন্তু there's 105 না 106 স্টুডেন্টস।
Okay, sir.
আর আমি কিন্তু মোটামুটি I try to read what I mark. So that takes quite a lot of time, huh?
Okay, sir. Yeah.
ঈদের মধ্যে আমি করে ফেললাম, তারপর আর if we can take more assignments then I can drop 1 or 2.
Okay.
Because 1 or 2 assignments can be bad for whatever reason. Because either you didn't understand the problem.
PDF হবে, right? Like
PDF
we're going to make a...
what doesn't matter.
Okay.
মানে PDF হলে একটা জিনিসটা ভাঙে না, and you don't even have to do graphs. Last semester lots of people did graphs for no reason. They spoiled space. ঠিক আছে?
Only the theory. I mean, only I have to
tell me a story.
Sir, assignments ki handwritten hobe?
No. Type. Otherwise I can't check it in
Okay,
I can't check for plagiarism. ঠিক আছে? Okay, then let me
Okay,
stop
sir.
the recording.